This right here is amazing. You've got everybody that's involved in every part of finding a cure for cancer. Researchers, scientists, survivors, advocates, everything that we need. But we want to talk about kind of where we're going in terms of getting closer and closer to a cure, how we can get others involved, and how we can, we all have that same goal, so we're all trying to reach that goal. Real quick, you know most of the people up here, but I do just want to reintroduce some of them and introduce you to the new folks. We have Dr. Margaret Foti, CEO of the American Association for Cancer Research for more than 42 years, and your 2024 Beacon Award winner. Dr. Siddhartha Mukherjee, 2011 Pulitzer Prize winner, Associate Professor of Medicine at Columbia University. The man of the evening, Dr. Dennis Slamon, your 2024 St. George Prize winner, Professor of Medicine and Director of Clinical and Translational Research at UCLA. The lady holding down the fort here in the middle, Dr. Olufunmilayo Olopade, physician and geneticist, founding director of the Center for Cancer Genetics and Global Health at the University of Chicago. We have, to my right, we have Mohit Manrao, SVP at AstraZeneca, head of US Oncology. And the two ladies here, Shereen and Isabella Pavlides. Now, Shereen founded a healthy living platform dedicated to promoting nutritious and healthy diets and lifestyle, inspired by the effects that a healthy lifestyle had on her mother-in-law during her cancer treatments. And her daughter, Isabella, is a recognized youth ambassador for NFCR, helping raise thousands of dollars to support life-saving cancer research, alongside the help of our field hockey team at Bucknell. And it's part of the Play for the Cure program. And she's here with us tonight, but she's got a game tomorrow morning. So we're very grateful that you're here with us. Dr. Olopade, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. You do a lot of advocacy in third world countries. You're so involved in when it comes to breast cancer. But from what you've seen in your advocacy to where we are in terms of treatment and early detection, what do you see as maybe some of the next steps that we need to take?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the first question I want to ask every woman in this audience is, have you done your risk assessment? Do you know your risk for breast cancer?
Probably not.
Okay. For a very long time, we thought age was the most important risk factor for breast cancer. And yet, we know that 30-year-olds get breast cancer, 40-year-olds get breast cancer. So I think that we need to do better. We have great cures now. And this morning, we heard about prevention and early detection. And we're not going to get to prevention and early detection without risk assessment. So I've done my own genetic test, and I've done all of the risk factors for breast cancer. And if you think about it, you can think about risk as a bell curve. Some are on the extreme, high risk, some are in the middle, and some are low risk. And so we're in the age where we actually really need to do precision oncology to find new treatments, but I think the money is on prevention. And so if you haven't done your risk assessment, there's a place you can go, Women Informed to Screen based on measures of risk, the wisdomstudy.org. We're looking to recruit 100,000 women. The American Cancer Society has also started a roundtable on breast cancer, and it's really because we see the disparities in breast cancer outcomes, where globally, we're talking about HER2-targeted breast cancer being curable, being eliminated, but lots of women globally still don't have access to this life-saving drug. So that's what my advocacy is about, that we should leave no one behind, because the progress has really been humongous in the last 30 years.
What do you say to a woman that maybe, so for example, I was 27, I have no family history, And then after doing the genetic testing, no markers, none of that. What do you say to some women that are hesitant either because of fear of what they're going to find out, or just being like, I'm young, there's no problem. I don't need this test.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think our messaging also hasn't been completely, sort of on point, because we really didn't have the tools to do risk assessment. The good news is that 27-year-olds who get treated and survive live longer. And as women are living longer, we're realizing that you may get a second cancer, and you did, but we're able to treat it. So I think that the future is really about finding other biomarkers, finding a way to monitor ourselves. Is it stress? Is it genetics? What is it? Is it our food? Is it the alcohol? I mean, so many things that we still need to learn about women. And I really think that breast cancer is not solved. We have some victories. And of course, Dennis is, brought us the first really home run in terms of, we used to do bone marrow transplant for women with breast cancer. And it became clear that MON was not necessarily better. It's just the precision. So I think we can move that needle by really embracing more women in science and technology, more deployment of tools, so that even those who don't have the resources will actually get faster cures by doing clinical trials faster and getting drugs to market at a faster pace.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mukherjee, I know you specialize in early detection. So kind of going off that, where are you seeing a need or a gap as we move forward?
Well, I think Dr. Olopade pointed out exactly what the problem is, which is that early detection comes in many forms. There's not one form of early detection. There is genetic testing. There is a mammography. There are new forms of, it really depends on the kind of cancer. I also want to emphasize that early detection without a definitive therapeutic answer is not very useful. You can have lots of early detection, but if you can't do anything about it, it just causes anxiety and then you're stuck. So those two things need to move together. The success of trastuzumab was that it combined early detection with a very successful targeted precision therapy. So I think that it's very important that these things move together. That on one hand, we do early detection, that's very helpful, and that we also use early detection in combination with a successful precision targeted therapy. One last thing that I'll say is, I was talking to Denny about it, we've known each other for many years, but the CDK4/6 inhibitors cost $24,000 to $30,000 a year. That's just their cost. You can triple that, quadruple that if you add in the medical therapies, the oncologist visits, all the various things that come to it. I will challenge you, and I will challenge myself, that in 5 to 10 years, I will produce that drug using AI for 1/10 to 1/20 that cost. And I will distribute that drug. It will be protected by IP, so not challenged by a multinational company. And I will distribute that drug across the world so that women in North Africa, South Africa, women in Brazil, women across the world have access to a version of that medicine across the world. And why do I know I can do this? Because I am making trastuzumab, Denny, I'm making trastuzumab at 1/20 the cost in India. So I will challenge myself. I will come back to you in 5 years and I will tell you I have made a CDK4/6 inhibitor at 1/10 to 1/20 the cost.
That sounds like great news. We want to hear in 5 years, right?
Okay.
Dr. Slamon, yeah. Going kind of off that, since you talked about technology, Dr. Mukherjee, how are you incorporating that in research? What are you seeing that maybe that technology is helping to boost some of the research and finding new medicines, new treatments?
The technology is moving at an incredible pace. The tools we have available today dwarf the tools we had available when we first started the trial, the search for genes, targets like Herceptin. So I think there's a lot available to us that, applied appropriately, will give us safer and more effective therapies. Siddhartha's right, cost is critical because we're not just talking about treating patients in this country, where costs are really an issue, but all over the world. If we have targeted therapies that we can't use, it's not much good to people who have these diseases who don't have access to the drug. So some of the endeavors he's talking about could be incredible. In addition, AI and what he showed you in terms of what AI can bring. AI is going to have some huge impacts on what we're doing. It still's not going to get around, I don't think yet, a clinical trial.
No.
As Sid said, you still have to do an IND, you still have to submit it, and you still have to prove it does or does not work in the clinic in patients. But getting to a candidate for targeting therapy can happen much more quickly with the kinds of things that he's been talking about doing. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah.
I think if we come back in 5 years, not only may you be making drugs cheaper, we're gonna have a lot more available to us that we can do.
Great news there. Thank you. Dr. Foti, in your years heading up the American Association for Cancer Research, can you speak to just what you've seen in terms of how far we've come in terms of not just treatment and medicine too, but awareness, education, and just your takes on kind of where we are in terms of cancer?
Well, thank you. So I'm absolutely impressed, amazed at the discoveries that are coming down the pike on a daily basis almost. I mean, we see it in our journals, we see it in the meetings that we present. Thousands of people attending meetings. I mean, just as one example, our 24 annual meeting had 24,000 people, and there were 8,000 abstracts, 240 clinical trials. I mean, it's just extraordinary what is happening in 1 year. What I think is a major thing is that the public is not necessarily aware of all the great things that are happening, and I think we need. And I focus on this because I, happen to be a communications person, but I think our communications really needs to be strongly enhanced. Our communications and marketing, the public needs to understand what is happening. I see this amazing dedication on the part of the scientific community to try to do something important for the field, and yet there's this distrust of science. It's just outrageous. And so we need to really improve our communications. And also, clearly, we need more and more funding. We can't, no money, no mission. We can't do anything without funding for cancer research, both from the federal government, but also from philanthropic organizations that are working so hard to change. So all I can say is that those are my issues right now. I feel very strongly about those as I look to the future of our organization.
Congratulations. I haven't talked to you yet, so congratulations.
Thank you.
That looks beautiful around your neck.
Thank you.
Mohit, from an AstraZeneca perspective, where do you see in terms of like what is out there and able to be produced to where you're maybe hoping to see it go?
Yeah, so I think as we heard from different talks, science has been moving very fast. And when we think about treating patients and eliminating cancer as a cause of death one day, we think about there are patients who are benefiting from drugs like Herceptin, but there's still opportunity to do more. There are patients who progress on those and are looking for the next wave of innovation to come through. So we can't lose sight of those who are on this journey and living with cancer, whom cancer may outsmart the current treatments and may need more. So really focusing on the unmet need of those. But also, like Siddhartha said, we got to move early, detect cancer early, but also really find the opportunities to bring treatments earlier into that space and ensuring that those who have early detection actually have a treatment available. And it's astounding to see this year in United States, 2 million people will be diagnosed with cancer. And 10 cancers that are on rise, 6 of them are screenable, and they are on rise in a younger population. So we also need to evolve the screening guidelines to ensure that just because you are a smoker at 40, you're not eligible for screening, whereas at 50 you are, or at 50 if you're a non-smoker, you're not. So there's a lot of those nuances. Still, there's screenings that are available whose uptake is dismal. So we got to really work on this. And the last I'll say is, which is a true passion for me and my teams, is I, having worked across the world, equity needs to be built in. And that's a challenge. I mean, it's really great that the science that we all are working on is moving so fast, but the infrastructure at grassroots level is not catching pace with it. The delivery of that science is not catching pace. And there's cost issues, access issues, guideline concordant care issues. So, we are focused on how can we ensure, irrespective of your zip code, you have an equal shot at an equivalent outcome to a better health. So those are areas that we think we all need to do more and more on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we hear early treatment saves lives, but or early detection saves lives. But early detection is one thing. Having the treatment available is another thing. Shereen, you started this community of yours and have reached thousands and thousands and thousands of people, this healthy living platform. Can you share a little bit about your inspiration, but also how those that you've been reaching have inspired you in terms of educating and advocating?
Well, my mother-in-law, Esther Pavlides, she had breast cancer at the age of 30, and really inspiring story. I'll touch on it briefly, but she was 30, she had breast cancer. The doctor told her, she had my husband, the doctor said to her, do not get pregnant again because the cancer will come back. So she did everything in her power not to get pregnant. 5 years went by and she got pregnant, and the doctor said, you need to abort the baby. And she said, I'm not going to abort the baby. I've done everything in my power not to get pregnant, and I did. Lord will take me through this. She was very spiritual. She had a very strong faith. And she had my brother-in-law. God bless my brother-in-law. He's an orthopedic surgeon. This is an amazing man. And she was cancer-free for 40 years. And then she had pancreatic cancer. They gave her 2 months to live. And with her strong will, she was determined to fight. And she lived for 7 years, 7 beautiful, strong years, where she was swimming and traveling and being with her family and watching her grandchildren grow. And she would go to chemo and she wouldn't even lose her hair. It was crazy. And she would come home from chemo and she would go swimming. So she was incredibly inspiring. I think that everyone should know her story, because if you are to be given that diagnosis, it's not the end. She has accomplished so much in her life. And that was, 7 years that now you can, in that time, through the research, through funding and knowledge and, getting cures, something can happen. So never give up. So I just feel that her story is super inspiring. So she had inspired me to help my daughter at her school, Bucknell University. She plays field hockey. Last year, I had the choice to choose what I wanted to be responsible for, and it was Play for the Cure, to raise money for the National Foundation for Cancer Research. It was in honor of my mother-in-law. We did great. My followers inspired me. Isabella and I, we were working together, and through the companies that I worked for, We collected a nice gift basket for people. So it was my way to be able to raise more money through funding by doing a giveaway. And what I found so amazing, and we would read all the comments from people, I was just so touched to read all the amazing stories and how it has affected everyone. And one person distinctly that I remember saying, she says, I'm definitely going to donate because through this funding, they have found a cure for my cancer. So this is my way to give back. So for all of you knowing it is working for people, and it educated me, just reading everyone's comments, and I saw everyone coming together as a community and almost helping one another. And Isabella, in her time with my mother-in-law, Esther, she was caring for her, and I'll let you say the rest.
So she was given those 2 months to live, and if it really was just 2 months, then I wouldn't have remembered literally anything. I was 4 years old, so with being blessed with those 7 years left, we were together all the time. She was not just my grandmother, but she was literally my best friend. I was with her every weekend. I was not with my friends. I was having sleepovers with my grandmother. We were baking all the time. Like, she was literally my best friend. So that last summer in 5th grade, I was 11 years old, and she was in the hospital the entire summer. And I was with her every single day. Like, I was begging, can I sleep over? I'll sleep on the couch. Like, I wanted to be there every single day, and I did everything I could as an 11-year-old to take care of her and help her. And being in the hospital every day and, like, taking care of her allowed me also to understand, like, I have such a strong passion for taking care of other people. And I knew from when I was 11 years old, we have a family full of doctors, but this is what made me realize I really have a strong passion to be a doctor. I want to be in the hospital taking care of patients. Like, this is what I wanted to do. And she allowed me to realize I have such a strong passion. And we're just so grateful that we can be up here sharing her story, because it is so inspiring. She is the strongest woman I will ever know. With everything I do, she inspires me. Within everything, I think of my grandmother. She literally was the most positive person I've ever met in my life, and not a day goes by that I don't think of her. So this is just an awesome experience that we can be up here and sharing her story and reading all the comments. It was so inspiring. Collecting, like, all the money that we got was just like, we didn't even realize it was going to be like such a big thing. And like all the comments and stories, it was just getting bigger and bigger. And it was seriously such an awesome experience. So
I think that's what surprises a lot of us. I say this because I have 2 daughters your age. Your generation can get some flack sometimes, right? But I think the future is really bright in terms of how much your generation and those around your age care for others. I'm seeing it more and more in young people, and I don't know if it's a matter of we're talking about it more. You know, we're not hiding cancer anymore. We're talking about health. There's a big mental health push, of course. What was it like with your teammates, knowing that you all were coming together? What did you sense from them? Was their reaction, knowing that they were helping an incredible cause? What was that whole experience like, raising the money?
So we usually have this every year, but some years we just do, like, normally some people will, like, reach out to our family and, like, keep it very, like, close circle. I think because we started on social media and doing the gift basket thing and everything, it brought in such a big community that I remember my teammates were like, oh my gosh, like, all these stories we're reading, like, it is so inspiring. Like, it really just, like, opened up. Like, we're not just like collecting money or getting money for, asking for a donation for cancer, like, every other year. Like, it was such an eye-opening experience for my teammates, because I think they thought of it as like, oh, every year, you know, we do this breast cancer awareness game.
It's just something you do.
Yeah, it's just something we do. But, like, after seeing, like, the impact of other people that were donating, like, it really opened their eyes too. And I think it was just honestly inspiring for all of us. So it was a really great experience.
It's amazing to see, like, that was kind of what I started with, is we have people on this panel from every aspect, and not all of us are scientists and researchers, biologists. we're journalists and mothers and fathers, and we might not be in the science field, but we all play a part in getting closer to the cure. You two are educating and advocating and spreading the word about something that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. Did you feel, Shereen, that maybe those fear walls came down a little bit once somebody shared and somebody else shared?
I feel that it bonded people with one another through their experiences. They were communicating with one another, and it was really wonderful to see. And I think that people need someone to talk to, and it brought my community together, and it was really amazing. I was taken back. I didn't expect it to be as big as it was.
Sometimes just knowing that you have somebody there that's in your corner makes you feel a little safer to share and a little safer to be open. Dr. Olopade, I want to come to you because you talked about needing to get more people, right? The wisdom study, more people to study the disparity in breast cancer. What would you say to us here in terms of encouraging our loved ones to learn more about this, to talk more about this?
Yeah, so, I'm a geneticist, and, cancer is a genetic condition. So why not talk about your family history? And so in the tradition of real good doctors and good families, we should be more open about what goes on. And it's really been really challenging to have openness, especially in different cultures where there's still so much stigma about breast cancer. This morning I was sharing the fact that I've worked in Chicago for 41 years on the south side of Chicago with Black women. And there are a lot of, myths and misunderstanding about people who don't look like you, but everyone actually has the same aspiration, which is to have a good quality of life, to be there to raise their children. And so every time I would go and visit my mentor and good big brother, I call him at UCLA, raising money, I would say, don't forget the south side of Chicago because we need resources, right? And so I think it's really about, being in the community with other people and realizing that they also want to be part of a solution. So my patients, when I ask them to participate in research, they sign me up. And yet we think that, they don't want to participate in research. And what we found is that they didn't participate because no one asked them. We've been so divided in terms of racial divisions and all that. And so I really think we need to extend ourselves beyond the ivory tower. Universities need to embrace communities, and we all really need to challenge ourselves to make sure that everyone has an equal chance to survive a diagnosis of breast cancer. Otherwise, the gap and the mortality gap and the wasted resources, if we're treating cancer at the last month of life, which, when I first got to the University of Chicago, the only way you could get into my private hospital is if you came with a fungating breast cancer into the emergency room because you had no insurance. I mean, this is God's own country. We ought to do better than that. And so that's why I think globally we're talking about universal access to insurance, making sure that we can get more clinical trials in communities, and that we can really all work together for a decentralized way of getting clinical trials into communities. And whether you live in rural America or urban America, we can fix this problem if we come together.
With you at the helm, we can fix this problem for sure. Thank you. Dr. Foti, I'm hoping you can leave us with some words too in terms of how we can all go out, empower our communities to learn more, to support more, to share stories.
Thank you. So some of what Dr. Olopade is talking about is community outreach and engagement. And we've been talking a lot about that among our members of our organization. and other organizations, the importance of getting out there to the community and making sure that they know about the opportunities for clinical trials, they know where to go for help and so on. So I think that's going to be very, very important, especially when we look at diverse communities and access that is needed. But I wanted to also emphasize the importance of collaboration. Collaboration across sectors. We have all the sectors represented here on stage, and it's extremely important that we work together to really figure out how we can do more and do better in conquering this disease. The sectors that were represented in the program today, whether it be entrepreneurship among biotech or whatever it is, we have to really stretch and really try harder, not just to do more scientifically, but also to figure out how we can work together to maximize the benefits of our work together. So I'm excited about the future. I'm so delighted to be here to talk about this amongst our colleagues in the room, and to know that there are wonderful things happening down the road, scientifically, clinically, and also in patient benefit. And it's a great time to be living. We need to do more, but we have to prevent this tragedy of 2050 and how we're going to face many more cancers, especially in areas outside, not, low and middle income countries. That's just a devastating thing to consider. So let's all work together and change the world.
That's the whole reason we're here today, right? We're learning, we're inspired, excited about the future, but we do all need to work together. So I do want to thank our panelists. I want everybody to wish Isabella the best of luck tomorrow on her field hockey game. Thank you for sharing and being so open and honest. Thank you to all of our panelists and our award winners. Congratulations. I do want to bring up, we're done here on the panel, so while we come down, I would like, who do I have coming up here? Oh, Dr. Alfred Slanitz to give us our closing remarks. Also, before we go, there are flower arrangements on your tables there. Sometimes we try to be like, whose birthday's closest? We're going to let you all talk amongst each other. Whoever at the table wants to take it home is welcome to take those home. So Dr. Slanitz, if we could have you come up here, and panelists, thank you again very much.